Hi, this is Michelle Sheran-Andrews, and in this video, I will talk about the Deriving and Interpreting Demand Functions help sheet. Before reading this help sheet, be sure you can recall each of these definitions, formulas, and concepts. This list is posted on Sakai. After you do that, study the help sheet. From this help sheet, you should be able to understand and explain these points. After that, you're ready to apply these concepts. Let's get some practice by working this problem. Here we have an individual whose preferences are represented by the utility function u equals x plus y plus x times y. Now we have to justify whether each of these statements is true or false. For the first statement, let's derive the demand function for good x. Start by writing down the MRS. Now set the MRS equal to the price ratio. This is the tangency condition. Next, solve for y. That's right, to derive the demand for good x, first we need to solve for good y. Let's start with cross multiplication. Now we've solved for y. We want to plug that into the budget constraint. I personally find it easier with a functional form for utility like this to recognize that I've already solved here for p of y times y, and so I can plug it in up here in the budget constraint for p of y times y. If I follow that approach, here's what I get. Now we solve for x. And there you have it. That's the demand function for good x, making statement A a true statement. Next up, we'll solve for the demand function for good y. Now, one strategy to take here would be utilizing what we've already done. That is, we can take the demand function for x and plug it in here in this equation for y. I personally find that to be a bit messy. So what I'm going to do instead is back up to here, solve for x instead of y, and plug it into the budget constraint to then derive the demand for y. Let's take a look at that. Here's what we get when we solve for x. Again, I'm going to find it easier to stop actually one step short of that and plug in instead for p of x times x. So let's do that. Here's the budget constraint. And we want to plug in for p of x times x. Let's clean it up and solve for y. There you have it. That's the demand function for y, making statement B a false statement. Now let's look at C. Is good x a normal good? Is good y an inferior good? Well, the demand function for x, remember, looks like this. And so to determine whether x is normal or inferior, we can look at how x responds to a change in income. The derivative of the demand for x with respect to income, in this case, would be 1 over 2p of x, which is positive for positive prices. This reveals x to be a normal good. How about y? Okay, well, to see if y is normal or inferior, we use its demand function. How does y respond to a change in income? That's what the sign of dy di will tell us. Here we get 1 over 2p of y, which for positive prices is also positive, revealing y to be a normal good. Therefore, statement C is false. X is normal, and good y is normal as well. Do both goods follow the law of demand? To answer that, let's look at the sign of dx dp of x and dy dp of y. Here, dx dp of x is negative, revealing that x does follow the law of demand. How about dy dp of y? Since dy dp of y is negative, good y also follows the law of demand. Statement D is therefore true. Last, let's see if x and y are complements. For this one, we want to look at the cross derivative, the derivative of x with respect to the price of y, and the derivative of y with respect to the price of x. For dx dpy, we get 1 over 2p of x, which is positive. And for dy dp of x, we get 1 over 2p of y, which is also positive. That means as the price of one good goes up, demand for the other good goes up as well. This makes the two good substitutes. As the price of y goes up, consumers buy less y, law of demand, and they substitute instead towards x. As the price of x goes up, consumers buy less x, law of demand, and substitute towards y. Statement E is therefore a false statement. Now go beyond the surface of this help sheet by analyzing and evaluating. To help you with that, explain, determine, and connect these points. When you're done with that, create by formulating the functions that I've listed and by graphing what I've asked you to do. You will talk about these with your classmates in recitation, so please bring any questions you have there, or as always, come see me. That concludes this video for deriving and interpreting demand functions.